So I've mentioned this already, but for the longest time, there were only 2 players in the game of third-party Legends. We had Iron Factory, and we had DX9/Unique Toys. It's all the same branch company, so there's not really separate competitors, hence why they didn't make the same characters. Around the same time, though, we got 2 newcomers, although I say newcomers, but one of them wasn't really a newcomer. We had Magic Square, who has kind of come out of nowhere, and is also making a couple of Masterpiece figures, although mainly just Optimus Prime at this point. And then we also had New Age, although it's not really a new company. It's actually the same branch company as Unique Toys and DX9. From what I can gather, the new designer who's leading the charge is actually the same designer who has done those Jesus Christ Transformers that you've seen on Diamchok. Yes, that's right. Somebody designed a Jesus Christ Transformer that becomes a Night Mech. I can't make this shit up. I was eager to try out their first outing, which was their Bumblebee, but unfortunately their Bumblebee had sold out of most places. So I ended up setting on a gold bug, and all things considered, I don't think I went too wrong with this. So yes, I have applied an Autobot symbol to this. I don't usually do it with my, Legends figures, because I just don't have many lying around. I do intend to, but most of the time I don't have enough of them. But this time I did, and this time I thought it was appropriate, even though I horribly applied it. Anyway, New Age Goldbug transformed into a very cartoon-styled Goldbug. And I love it. They've managed to go cartoon style without looking boring. There's lots of sculpted detail, a decent amount of paint. It gets the job done. By cartoon style, I'm primarily referring to the proportions. It's very squished. And the fact that they were able to do this while still not sacrificing the robot mode, or I don't know, say like the MP45, it's bloody brilliant. I also love the way they've done the gold plastic. It's not super shiny gold, which is a little unfortunate, because New Age has been known to do entire figures in shiny metallic paint, but this is their first outing, and we can cut them a little bit of slack. Love the fact that they've painted the wheels. Yes, they're not pinned wheels, but it's such a small size, you'll see why in a minute. They've painted the entire thing black and silver. Also, all the windows, save for the tiny black one back there, are painted. That one's so tiny, it doesn't really matter, and the lack of paint on that black wheel there is understandable because they're trying to go for toon accuracy, and this is one where I can let it slide. A lot of the time, toon accuracy is a detriment to the figure. Not so much here, and they've painted the tail lights, which is very nice. Also the headlights and the bumper. If I have to describe this figure, it is simple but very bloody effective. It does what it means to do very successfully. And this thing is ruddy tiny. Unfortunately, as far as I can tell, there's no proper weapon storage. This is based loosely on the Masterpiece version, and having some weapon storage in there would have been nice, but what can you do? You can't win them all. For a size comparison, here he is next to a standard Legion figure, a standard Legends figure, a standard Siege Micromaster, a not-so-standard LEGO minifigure, and Crumbs. So compared to the ever-so-tiny G1 Micromasters, he is comparable. That gives you an example of how bloody tiny he is. And when you see the transformation he goes through, which is heavily inspired by the original MP21 Masterpiece Bumblebee, you'll see the amazing engineering they've done. Well, I say inspired, but they really have brought a few new tricks to the table, such as the wheel placement. The first thing you want to do is bring the wheels back here, come around here and open up this entire section here. The arms open out of those 2 cavities. Bring the arms out on the hinges like so. They're on ball joints and hinges, so it should be pretty easy to do so. The legs transform exactly like the MP21 by folding in those, opening up the legs, collapsing the back panels here, and collapsing the wheels into there. Now this is where things get a little bit more interesting. You want to take that hinge there and bring it all the way back, then that will allow these to peg into, well, they don't peg in, they lock into the torso, but they can stay out if you want some hip skirts, which is a nice touch, but it's not really that important. You then come around and bring this entire torso section over it and peg it in. And you can leave it like that if you'd like, and that's the way you're supposed to leave Goldbug, but what they've done is they've given you options. If you so desire, you can bring that out, collapse these, and collapse that into the back of the torso if you want, which will give you a more Bumblebee style, but if we're going for Goldbug, we're just going to leave them out. And oh my god, this is so adorable! Oh my god, that is so cute! It's like a better version of the MP21 design, but at such a tiny little scale. This thing is so bloody tiny, it's so bloody cool. Of course, just like the MP21, you've got a fake window over there, just to get the overall design. But, this is how I imagine Bumblebee. Tubby, adorable, short in stature, not whatever the MP45 was supposed to be. He is very simple and very effective. There's not really much extra paint aside from the paint on the head sculpt, and that head sculpt is utterly lovely. They've even gone ahead and painted the eyes, very subtly, but they have painted them. He cleans up immensely well, but
you don't really get this until you see it in hand. He's a brilliant little figure, but you don't realize how brilliant he is until you actually get the size of him. It's astonishing that they managed to clean this up so well, yet have him transform so intuitively at such a small scale. I really can't sell you on this figure enough. Articulation is pretty decent though. You've got the ball joint at the head, a hinge that goes a little bit backwards but not much, and the ball joint at the shoulder, and at the elbow here, ball joints here, ball joint here, ball joint at the foot that allows for an ankle tilt. An ankle tilt on a figure this tiny. That is bloody amazing, and that's really it. But it's got standard deluxe articulation, or a little bit more than an average deluxe, at such a tiny scale. That is bloody brilliant. And for a size comparison, your standard Legion figure, your standard Legends figure, your standard Siege Micromaster, your not so standard Lego minifigure, and crumbs. So yes, it may be just a downscaled Masterpiece Bumblebee, but I think it might be a little bit better. The fact that they've been able to cram all of this engineering into this tiny little thing with far less kibble and still maintain a lot of articulation, it's much more of an engineering feat than the Masterpiece would ever hope to achieve. If you want a tiny Bumblebee, even as a desk toy, or a tiny gold bug, or a tiny bug bite, or whatever it's called, yeah, this figure's amazing. It's tiny, and it's amazing. I can't recommend this figure enough. But this on its own isn't enough to topple the Legends empire that Iron Factory has crafted for themselves. One figure alone isn't enough to do it. No, we need several prominent releases, and I think they may just have done it.